Hello, folks.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good.
Wonderful.
Doing good. Hi, Sarah.
Hi there.
Hello.
Everyone mostly stayed dry today?
Mostly.
I was
How about
worried
you?
we were going to have like a power blip in the middle of EOG. So I was like, oh, that would be bad. Nothing happened. It normally doesn't, but I was like, with the way this year's gone, something's going to happen.
Right. Oh, so sad, but so true. That is exactly how this past year and plus has gone.
Yes.
All right. While we've got a couple of minutes, I'm going to grab something to drink real quick.
Steven, you're explosive back there.
It's an intimidating background.
Yes, for sure. Is that because it's budget day? Is that what's happening?
Exactly. Exploding with enthusiasm.
Nice. Hey, Tiffany.
Hello.
Stephen, are you still in Iceland?
No, I'm not. I had to come back to reality at some point. But I can pretend I'm there with my background.
And yay, we have quorum. We've got a few more folks trickling in. Hey, gang. All right, let's go ahead and get our party started. Welcome, everyone. If I may have a motion to call our meeting to order, we'll go ahead and get rolling here.
I move that we begin the meeting.
I second.
Thank you very much. And if all are in agreement, we will go ahead and start. No objections? Yay. All right, now that we've called our meeting to order, Miss Mallory, would you like to take it away with your presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to, sorry. I'm seeing all these admit buttons pop up and trying to share my screen at the same time.
Take your time.
1 second to make that happen. All right. Can everybody see this okay? Yeah. Good. So, our budget is not too far off of our 2020-21 budget when it comes to revenue. It's actually not reflecting an increase or much of a deficit from what we're expecting for state and local and federal. We did have two major changes to our revenue. One is that our federal grants that we typically get for Title I have been cut. They were cut about 20,000 is the planning allotment that we got. And so we had to adjust our budget for that. But on the flip side of that, we do have, and I got the funded letter just the other day for the ESSER 2, which is the COVID relief funds for 115, which we knew was coming. So that is an addition to our budget. So last year our budget started around 4 million, and now it is at the 4,160,000 mark for planning, which is going to be very helpful for us when it comes to tech and instruction and some staffing needs. When it comes to our expenses, our biggest ticket item is our staffing, salaries, wages, and the benefits that go along with that. Those are the biggest things that are in our budget. A couple noteworthy things that have landed inside of that this year is the ability to pay out master's pay for those staff members who got their master's after 2013. That's not something that the county offers teachers. They stopped giving additional wages for anyone who got a master's after 2013, but some of the charter schools do, and that's one of the things that CFCI believes in trying to do. So we were able to do that this year. This salary and wages also reflects the coordinators and the new organizational structure. So that is all fitting inside of that line item in particular. Our books and supplies isn't too different than last year's. A lot of these things just carried over. Contracted student services, however, has gone up a few thousand because that has become a stronger need at our school. Our budget was really maxed this year when it came to OT and speech and counseling services. We offer outside counseling services for particular needs within the school, and so those contracted services are much higher, which means we need to add some to the budget for this coming year. So that is where we landed with that. Staff development is our professional development. Administrative services, insurances are about the same. One noteworthy thing, just to keep you informed when it comes to insurance, is that our insurance, not just ours, but a lot of insurance companies have taken out the pandemic liability. So it's not available. I can't even get it as an endorsement right now, which is kind of crazy. Rent and debt services is what we pay for our building, loan on our building. That's our monthly cost for that. Facilities is about the same as last year. A lot of that just carried over, so the expenses are about the same. We did max that out this year, but we had some unexpected costs with plumbing and rats and landscaping needs, things like that, that kept coming up unexpected. So we definitely used every penny of that. And so I certainly wanted to keep that there. Would like to see that begin to go up in the future, but right now that's where that one is. Utilities haven't changed. They're going to be the same next year as they are now. Shouldn't be any different.
Can I pop in and ask? Can I ask a silly question real quick? Well, sorry to interrupt you in the flow. Do we have a copy of this anywhere? I didn't see it in the only thing I saw in the agenda, and maybe I'm just missing it, was the historical data, but I didn't know if we had one of these.
I didn't email it to everyone, but I can for sure. And part of that is because we were still, walking through all the different approvals with finance and shared leadership, they were all seeing it, just up until recently. So
That's all good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something in terms of missing a link or something like that. So
no, but I'll make a note and I'll email it out to you.
Okay.
For sure. And then let's see where we're facilities, utilities are about the same. Technology has gone up significantly. That one and a few TAs in our staffing line item is where you'll see a reflection of that ESSER grant really come through, that $110,000. We are using a lot of that to fund the infrastructure update, because our wireless and I can't give you, I can't speak tech, so don't make fun of me when I try to, but the switches are a problem in our building, and the switches and the wireless capability has been an issue, especially now that we're a one-to-one school, meaning we have one device per student. So everyone is trying to get on Wi-Fi at the same time, and we've had a lot of issues this year because we're running on the original tech from the building, which is 10 years old now. So the switch is also melting down. So we have a temporary one in right now, but the cost to redo our infrastructure is $68,000. But we have an E-rate grant system that will cover half of it. So 34,000 is what we have had to add to the budget, including an increase to cover more Chromebooks to continue that one-to-one. So that's a big increase from last year. Other than that, the rest of it is about the same. The capital campaign fund is still rolling over from a fundraising. Great Expectations was a fundraiser that happened, and those are earmarked and they're currently in the works. But in case it doesn't get spent out by the June 30th end of the fiscal year, it will roll into next year's budget.
Quick question, Mallory. That figure concerning technology, the 90,000 figure,
Yes.
and the with the E-rate, the $34,000 roughly is that going to happen in the fall?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what's built into this budget right now.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's good, because now's a great time to get a good network.
Yes. Yeah,
Mallory?
we're happy about that. And hopefully it will extend to outside services as well, so that when we're outside classroom, they can be able to access Wi-Fi. Yes.
Sorry, could you just talk a little bit about the changes in salary for the TAs?
Yeah, absolutely. So the state has made it so that TAs' wages need to go up to $15 an hour. The hope, though, is that they will also increase some of their funding to cover that, but we don't know that that's the case yet. So they're asking us to move it to $15 an hour for all teachers' assistants, but we don't know for a fact yet that they're going to fund that. So we had to fit it into our budget. So that is reflected in our salaries and wages. That's another reason why it's as high as it is.
Mallory, the state's already approved that? That's already been voted on?
Yeah. Yep. Danielle, is that anything else you wanted me to add to that?
I don't know if now is a good time to talk about some of the facilities issues that are not budgeted for.
Yes, would love to. So as you can see, our facilities, our budget is really tight right now, and the facilities line again reflects the same as what it did this past year, which does not allow for improvements. We maxed it out this year with all of the basics, the landscaping that covers all of like toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning supplies, HVAC issues. We had to replace the small air conditioning. That's all of our maintenance. Just all of those things fit into that facilities line item, which doesn't allow for facility improvements. Meaning, for example, the walkway behind our school has some major issues. The wood has rotted away. There's holes in it. There's exposed screws. It's a safety hazard right now. That the current bid on that, only one bid, I know we have to get 3, but the first one, just to give you an idea of the cost of that, is around $12,000 to pull that up and replace it with a crush run like gravel or stone or something else that would last rather than a wood surface. There's some holes in the underskirting that the rats, had fun with as they got into the building and destroyed our pipes as well. There's parts of the fence that, need some help. There's some interior painting that definitely needs to happen. There's some things, quite a few things in the building that need improvements, but within our budget, there's not a space for that. So if there was funds available or funds that we could, begin to talk to, I'm sure Danielle will begin to talk to you about that. It would be, in my opinion, a great idea to use those to update the facility to last for, the next 10 years. Because in our budgets right now, it's really only housing the maintenance side of that.
Yeah, if I might just kind of address this issue a little bit. So there's a lot of different improvements that are needed. The building is 10 years old. And then there are things that are unsafe. And so, for example, we had approved to redo the hallway floors because we absolutely can't even strip and clean them anymore. And had put aside money for that. And when doing investigation around it, found out that it's better for us to redo all the floors at the same time. So decided to put that off for a year. So that's money we're going to have to talk about at some point, because that's not funded yet. Part of it is, but not the whole thing. And, painting and so forth, right? Like things that make the school a better environment for teachers and kids and competitive. And then there's things like the walkway in the back that it's not safe, and the holes in the building are not safe. So to me, when we're talking about improvements, I wouldn't even put those in that category. I'd put them as things that have to be fixed, and we have to find a way to fund those. And that right now is not in the budget. So I don't know if that's surplus. I don't know where we get that. But when we spoke with finance today about this, they had a really great idea. In fact, I think it was Joanne's idea of saving some money by trying to get parents to help us demo the walkway. It's all wood, and then just paying for the stone to put down the walkway. I think what would be smart is for us to try to do that, but also put aside enough money that if we don't get parents to do it, we still have a way to make that safe before school starts. So I'm kind of putting that up for discussion.
I'm just going to jump in a couple things with the walkway. That was, I don't know how many people remember, and if I'm remembering correctly, it was the volunteer group. I can't remember what they're called. They come for a weekend and they do a project. And our school was
Wilmington.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Work on Wilmington. They came in and provided all of the materials and the manpower. That's how that was designed. So just the background on that. Teacher perspective, I would like for it to be brought up to the faculty if that is going to change. I totally understand the safety. I'm 100% for that. I think some consideration to what a crush and run path actually looks like when you put kids on it, and needs to be considered, because it sounds good, but we know children, they're going to throw the rocks, they're going to kick the rocks. I don't want us to spend the money on something and have it just, be go away. And then I don't want to create another safety hazard to to replace a different one. So just tease your voice. I think it's 100%. I agree 100% safety we need to take care of before action is put into place for replacing that. I think soliciting some opinions might be a good idea.
Yeah, and I think that's also a good idea to consider everything. And as we're considering that though, the stones are really small, so they're not the kind that you could throw, but I totally understand what you're saying. It's a consideration. I mean, you could throw them, but they're tiny pebbles. But I do think there could be other issues we're not considering that we could hear from teachers about. The only other thing I would mention though, is that I would hate to put down regular wood again and then have this problem again and have to spend 12,000 again in, 7 to 10 years. And we could put down something that's not wood, like another boardwalk, but then we're looking at a bigger financial investment. So those are all, like, we might have to compromise on something somewhere.
Sarah, I agree after, because I was in the finance meeting yesterday and I was thinking more about money. And I kind of thought about it some last night and today. One of the things I thought about is that, like, for example, my children go out there and sit on that boardwalk and have lunch. And they won't be able to do that if it's gravel, because it'll be like sitting and eating in the dirt. And then it's going to come in the classroom and be all over everything. So that it won't be usable in that same way. We've had presentations out there. And they won't be able to sit and have a presentation in the same way. So I think that a faculty discussion is a good idea to see if we can come up with a different kind of solution, or other options at least to look at and explore.
Would it be smart, Joanne,
Hello?
I think she froze.
I think she froze.
I think you froze, Danielle. Or I froze, or somebody froze.
We'll just give her a minute to thaw out.
When she comes back in, we'll give her the floor back, but just curious, Mallory, do we have like a limit on this budget of the surplus? Is there some sort of cap? There always is a cap, but just to give us a sense of what's possible.
I'm not, I might need you to clarify what you mean, like a cap to the surplus, but the surplus from this past year is what she's referring to. Like, if we don't use certain amount of funds by June the 30th, then it'll roll over into our fund balance or our savings. And it is projected that we will have around 190,000, but the board in one of our last meetings, I think it was our last one, did approve the recommendation from finance to spend 80 of that on some really important things within the building that we needed. But that does leave, additional funds that would, if not spent, roll over into savings. So that is somewhere between 80 and 100 is what we would have available. Is that what you meant by cap on that?
Yeah, just to get a sense. I didn't know if it was 12,000 or 3,600, or I didn't know what that surplus was at
Just
all.
an additional piece, Chuck, is that we have to keep a certain amount in there. If something happened, we have to have 3 months worth of money to carry us through, and to kind of pay the bills. And so that has to stay. And we pretty much depleted what we had on the parking lot project. That was, anything above that pretty much was spent on that project. So we're sort of rebuilding back now for the next parking lot thing that comes up, whatever that is. And it might be building improvements / repairs / needs / whatever you want to call it. But I'm wondering if maybe the 80,000 that's already been approved needs to be looked at again to consider safety needs over some wants that were on those lists, especially at the point that we're at right now.
And would that cover it?
I don't know. Without looking, I have no idea. I doubt it would cover everything,
Okay.
but I don't know. I mean, we don't have enough bids. We don't have bids on some of the stuff at all yet. So, I mean, we have an idea of the walkway, but that's not considering if we're able to get parents to take it out. I think honestly, that will be a very easy project for parents to handle if that's what we choose to do. So I think it would be less than that. However, depends on what we choose. I mean, there's just a lot of things to look at. But I would suggest that for sure, that we look back at that 80,000 that's been approved and consider some safety needs over some other things that were at the time considered needs. Just my recommendation, because some of those things weren't even in the mix or on the table at all at that time.
Yeah, that is a good idea. A lot of that though has to be spent by June 15th. So a lot of it already has been, but I'm sure there are some pieces we can look at. I think I saw Danielle come back.
Yep.
And I can't get my picture up again. Sorry.
No worries. So I took the budget down just to be able to kind of pass it over to you guys to what you wanted to discuss tonight. Is there anything else that you wanted to know that's specific to the budget itself? Do you want me to, or do I need to share it again? And I can email that out. A lot of the people who are on staff already saw that, had that in their hand, but I will send it to the board.
Mallory, I have a question that I probably should have asked a long time ago, but so a lot of this, the grant funds are helping to pay, if I understand correctly, for some positions, personnel. What happens, or I guess maybe the board just needs to think about, the school needs to think about what happens when that grant money goes away and we still have those positions, those people. Is that a possibility that could happen, that we lose funding now for positions that we're developing? Or I don't know how the grants, I know some of them are guaranteed and some of them are, I don't know how that part of the budget works.
Yeah. So currently in our plans, the positions that are being covered are mostly the TAs, not teacher positions. And we had 2 that we hired this year from the COVID funds, and those 2 are continuing to be covered the next 2 years. So after that, is there always a potential that we can't fit them into the budget? That's always a possibility, yes. But that's, not the plan, but it is a possibility.
Thank you.
Yeah, kind of along that lines, just in my thinking about the budget and looking at it, I think that the board really needs to start thinking a little bit further down the road, because those ESSER funds aren't going to be there forever. And when they're gone, that budget that we just looked at is not sustainable by the money that we're given in a normal year. It's not even close. And so just something to think about. In 2 years, we're going to go back to life as normal as far as our money goes that we're going to get probably, and it won't be substantially different than what it usually is, unless something else happens, which let's not go there. So.
Sorry, I had some tech issues, Lakeisha. So repeat everything that was said, everyone. No, just kidding. Could you just?
It's okay. Mostly we just laughed at the frozen Danielle face. So that was
it at least a good one or something? No? Well, okay.
It was good for us.
I heard, like, let's look at the 80,000 that we were already using from the surplus to see if we could reallocate for some safety things like the walkway. And I heard, the last thing I think was when we bring it to the faculty, it'd be great if we had an idea of like what the different costs are for the different options. So that can be part of the conversation so that we don't all fall in love with the idea of like, hey, let's put in a Trekwood, track. Oh, that's going to be $60,000, like let's try to have all so that we can have a good conversation about it. So I would love to do that, but I just think it's going to be too expensive. Did I miss anything else besides you guys laughing at me?
And did you hear the part about just thinking forward about the budget and how to sustain it after all these special grants go away?
Yeah, so what I would like to do is to look at what the budget, the revenue, in years without those funds. I'd like to look at what we're planned to use those funds for, and what it'll look like when we don't have those funds, so we're prepared, so we know like what we've been using that money for, and if it's been on a lot of things that are not positions, are things like improvement.
We need to buy her a new Switch.
Poor Danielle.
Do we have any hotspots left? I think we might need a hotspot.
She might benefit by calling in, so we just don't see her, but we just hear her, or maybe she
or turning off her camera. Sometimes I
yeah.
do that.
when we get her back.
She'll come back in a minute.
I'm texting with her right now. Just we'll get her back in.
And then somebody do a screen capture of that, and we can use that photo for the website.
Yes.
That was not nice, Chuck.
But it was funny.
And Chuck, it was on my mind as well. I was going to say, somebody screenshot that.
In solidarity, he'll be mine. Be like,
I mean, come on, it's all in fun. When she comes back.
Okay, in seriousness, here's a question, Dave. A couple of board meetings ago, you, and I don't remember exactly what it was we were talking about, but it was something to do with parents kind of itching to have something to do, projects that they could help with. So do you feel like that they would jump on board with whatever it is we decide about dismantling the boardwalk?
Yes, I generally think we don't ask enough of our parents in and around the school community to help do things like that. So I think that, a classroom or loop or two loops getting together could sponsor different initiatives, whether it's volunteers doing labor or raising funds for campaigns like that. I wholeheartedly believe that there's an aptitude inside the school to ask our parents for money and time for initiatives like that. I believe we should be asking our parents of this, of course.
Great.
Yeah. I see some head nodding there. I think
some of you other parents, do you agree?
I think when you think I compare and look at talk to other parents in the public schools, and the public schools are asking parents for money and for time and for volunteering and doing things. I'm like, oh, CFCI doesn't ask us for that. So yeah, I think there's ways that we could overtly ask parents to help improve our grounds, whether it's time or money.
So let me ask a question, Kim. When I sent out the, I think it was like 2 months ago, I sent out that just some notes based on that conversation I had with the lady at the charter school down in Charlotte, talking about how they went about increasing their funds through the developmental committee. I know we've had to, move that meeting a couple of times now, but I think that's something we need to look at very strongly for the future. is better ways to have a yearly campaign that's going to continue to bring funds in that are going to fund things like this as they're coming up, because they are approximately the same size school as we are, and they are raising around $500,000 a year. So that's substantial, and taking a look at and they present it in a way that it becomes a part of their operating expenses, not just separate to fund one item or another, but it becomes a yearly thing that's done, and parents are involved in it a lot. Getting community sponsors to be a part of it is also another part of it, but it's done on a regular basis, and they had to build up to it, of course. They didn't raise that amount of money the first year they went out the door, but they've gotten up to that at this point in time.
Do they have a fundraising specialist that's on staff?
They eventually were able to do that, Stephen. They were able to bring somebody on, but not the first year or two.
Okay.
It was actually a parent who was initially just was very passionate about this. She was a part of the parent community. She is now the paid person that's a part of it. But she was the one who helped hold it all together initially. And as I said, I'll send the notes out to everybody on the board if you want me to as well. Just for you all to look at, what it was that she stated, when I talked with her. She's also willing to help us going forward as we have any questions and about possibly rolling something like this out. She is, I found her because Tom Miller is the one that recommended her.
Thanks, Nancy. I would love to see that. I had to mute because I had someone noise in the background, but yes, thank you.
I'll just send it out to all of you. Because I think we've reached a point that we need that. We need some additional efforts put into this. And I know in the past we've done some very labor-intensive projects like the art expectations and all those things, but they were always designated for a certain, for maybe for their laptops on a card or this, that, or the other, or whatever. But this project, this manner of raising money is intended to go into the general fund to maintain the school.
Yeah, capital improvement campaigns.
Yep.
Annual capital improvement campaigns.
Right.
Yeah, it makes I really believe that there are wallets and hearts at CFCI that are able and willing to contribute either time or money if we ask, and we
just have to ask in a certain way and roll it out appropriately.
I think we have to go to them with a plan.
Well, that's
and I
the
think
whole
that's
thing.
where we've fallen down a lot of times is we just say, hey, give us money to fund the wonder.
Yeah.
But we don't get specific enough.
Right. And this one is designed in such a way that before they ever even open up their wallets or write out their check, they know that it is, exactly what that charter schools do not receive every bit of the money, same amount of monies that come to the regular public school system, and that we still have to make up, and they're expecting their children to receive really a better product, and why not? But we're at a point where we need to say, listen, we need your help in order to be able to continue to do that. And this is our plan for rolling it out. But I'll send that out after we get off the meeting.
Hey, Joanne, how much I'm fashionably late, as sometimes the case. Your concern over grant, like you mentioned ESSER, that's like maybe 6,000 a year. I think there's a couple of lines on that. Do we know what risk there is in general to these grants that will expire in a year or 2 or 3. And maybe Mallory, I don't know if that's more a question to you, and I don't expect you to know that off the spot, but it would be interesting to take Joanne's concern and actually put timelines on that and see what grants that we rely on are going to expire at what point and when, and how those, you know, what our plan would be to anticipate that those funds decreasing.
So most of our grants that are housed in our budget that you see are grants that don't have an expiration. Like, we've been continuing to get them year over year. As long as we apply, they come into us. So we count on those in our budget. However, there are a significant number of grants that are just given to us. Like this year, we had several COVID grants, several CARES Act grants that we didn't even know about, or that came in mid-year, or that the government just automatically said, hey, we're going to give everybody a grant for tech, you know, and you have this amount of time to spend it. So those are not inside this budget because we can't count on them and we don't know for sure that they're coming. The one that is in the budget, like that Joanne was speaking about, is those ESSER funds, because we know we are getting it. It has been funded. So that's 110, or it was 125,000. And we spent some of it already in this fiscal year. And then the rest of it, the other 110 is in the budget for next year. But we have 2 years to spend that.
Okay. Clearly I was looking at the wrong line. Okay.
And there's another, a number 3 ESSER thing coming too, right? That hasn't come yet.
Yeah, but we did not put any expenses inside of the budget for that. That we will plan the expenses once we have 100% know that it's coming, which we know it should be coming, but we're still applying and having it come. We haven't fully planned with the finance committee and the staff how those funds are going to be spent yet. So we're not reflecting the credit and the debit inside this budget yet.
Credit as in so the revenue is not in the new budget.
Right.
And neither, what you're saying as a revenue, because we don't know exactly how much yet.
No, we know how much.
Okay.
Yeah, we just haven't fully vetted how we're going to spend it. So we haven't added the expenses in because we haven't added the revenue in.
Okay.
We got multiple hands up. I think Kim was up first.
Joanne, you're right, and Dave, you're right to some degree. So for example, the ESSER funds that are still pending, the $280,000, we have to sit down as a group to, you know, a committee to decide what our priorities are. One of the things though, remember that we did commit to is funding, because this is we can use this up through 2023, September of 2023. We did commit to last year, or this past year, the year we're in right now, ESSER 2 funds paying for the COVID TAs that we brought on, and also an interventionist, because in the ESSER 3 funds, we have to devote at least 20% to learning loss specifically. So we have committed to spending at least another year using the $280,000 from ESSER 3 funds for the interventionist for a second year. So this first year coming up will be ESSER 2 funds. The next year will be ESSER 3 funds. So we're, you know, I think looking to be creative, there's a lot of things in the ESSER 3 that weren't allowed in the ESSER 2 that are allowed in the ESSER 3. So for example, HVAC replacement, just as an example, is one of the things that we could consider. Technology improvements, another thing that we could consider. So we can even move some of the money that we would normally have in our budget. Just say it's technology, for example, we can move that money into ESSER, right? And then the money that's freed up from our budget, we can use that for something else that has a priority that wouldn't fit into ESSER. So, we can be creative. They're encouraging us to, but we have to think about it. It is pretty much I don't want to say a 3-year grant, because it doesn't go quite that far, but it does go into that 3rd year. So we can be looking at that. but you're absolutely right. And I think Danielle's talked about this before, that idea of strategic planning, even with our budget, not just thinking year to year, but thinking forward, how do we look at a 3-year budget, for example? And some of these, like Mike Mallory said, can be counted on to some degree. And some of them we have to kind of think of it as an extra, right? And then in the meantime, we have that idea of partnering with other people in the community. It's the way we've positioned the director's position to start thinking outside of the box and looking outward for us. If you think about the success of a charter like Glow, who has really capitalized on their partnerships. Nancy, you're absolutely right. It's definitely possible. And these are the things that we have to think about. How do we do these things in a more strategic way? So, but I hope that answered a little bit about the grant.
It did. I have one more follow-on question that's a little unrelated, but is the recent tax increase for New Hanover County, I guess a little bit of a tax increase, but increased funds that the county is receiving, that is, Mallory, that has no implications to our ADM funding in the long term, right? We can't rely on any of that funding or that increase.
No, not that I'm aware of, not at this time, no.
Okay, I didn't think so.
This is not about the grant funds, but I don't want to forget the thought. Are we all on the same page that once the Blue Clay Road property sells, that money is just getting tucked away and not spent? Like there's going to be a plan for how to spend that. What's going to happen with that? Is that was my understanding. Yeah, or how to save that. I think that should be part of that 3-year strategic plan. Is nothing happens with that money until there's a plan to go forward with it.
Yeah, Danielle and I are meeting with some financial professionals this week just to help develop that plan. And I'm sure that the finance committee and multiple layers of people will have input on developing that plan before, it's presented or any money is spent or saved or invested or whatever happens. There'll be a plan for it. Yes.
Repeat that, Danielle.
We are for how we're gonna.
Or you could type it in the chat box. And who else is going to be in on that meeting? Anyone from finance or board? Mallory, you're on mute, but I see you talking.
Sorry, right now just Danielle and I are gathering information, but it's with our representative at our bank, but then also with another financial investment firm that's a broader scope rather than just the banking approach, that's giving some thoughts and ideas, things that we can begin to put on paper. We're just in the gathering of information stages. But if Lakeisha or someone or Tiffany or anyone wants to be a part of that, I can invite you to it. Just let me know.
Yeah, if I'm available, I'd love to come.
Okay.
The only other person I can think of who might be interested could be Lori, seeing as, her term starts next month. If she can't make it, I don't think that's, a deal breaker or anything, as long as you're gathering information to share with all of us later. But if she's interested, I don't want her to miss that opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't think I have Lori's information, but I'll get it. Lakeisha.
I'm still taking a look at the attachments in the agenda, but I personally don't have any other questions. Did anyone else have any questions before Mallory continues, if there's more?
Just to let you guys know, I do have Danielle on my phone on speaker, so she's listening to the conversation. So if you have a question for her, you can hear her through my phone. Just go ahead and feel free to say it out loud.
Try letting me in now.
Okay.
Oh, look at it. Mallory, did you have more to go ahead and present in the budget?
You were on mute, Mallory.
So sorry. No, I don't, unless there's any questions for me.
Could you just repeat everything from the last 10 minutes, please?
Very funny.
I moved closer to the internet source. I think there was some issue with where I was in the house, so I think it should be better now. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. It sounds a lot better, and we can see you. It's perfect. No, we were just talking. They were asking about the blue clay money, Danielle, and I let them know that we're gathering information. That you and I have a phone call with some finance professionals, and Tiffany and potentially Lori might want to join us if they're available. So I'll send that invite out. That was it. I don't have anything else to present.
I just wanted to acknowledge that I had to turn my video off before I got to. They brought me dinner at work late.
Aww.
So I do apologize for turning my video off.
How cute.
Hi, little boochers.
Hi, Miss Shannon.
Hi, sweet girls.
Mallory, thank you.
Maddie, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
You've got this. You've got it. You're such a smarty.
So cute.
Well, all in all, it looks like we're in pretty good shape. We're healthy. We're trying our best to make some good decisions, good informed decisions, and be wise about not just the blue clay money, but the budget as a whole. So I think we are all feeling really comfortable with some of that. It's nice to know that with so many other things going on in our world that, you know, financially, we don't have to be in a panic about anything with our budget. So, yay.
So Kim, can we go ahead and reset another meeting time for the development committee?
Yeah, you could do that with Danielle.
Just do that. That's right.
She's gonna meet.
I better
She wants to
switch
meet with
over.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Sorry, Danielle.
No worries.
All right, gang, if there's no further ado, I guess we can call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I oppose. I'm sorry, I second it.
I think they're in favor.
They're definitely in favor. They count, they overrule Chuck over there.
Right now, I'm so sorry.
The cuteness factor has overruled Chuck anyway. I make that as my decision. All right, so we have a first, we have a second, and if no one is opposed other than Chuck, I think we are good to adjourn for the night, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much for everything. Have a great evening.
Night. Thank you.